Hey guys, it's me, Helena. Welcome back to the channel where we talk all about astrocartography, locational astrology, and different astrology tools that we can use in our lives to help us time our life biographies. So if you are new around here, hi, I'm Helena, and I am a modern Western astrologer using the tropical zodiac, whole sign houses, and Hellenistic techniques. And I have a bunch of courses on relocation astrology, astrocartography, and if you wanted to ask any private personal questions, I answer all of those in my private readings, which you can find down below in the description on my website, helenawoods.com. And I also answer specific questions on Hey Hero. So if you have a specific question for me on your chart, your birth chart, your timing, your zodiacal releasing, your astrocartography, you can ask me on Hey Hero and I'll send you a private personalized video. Without further ado, let's get started. This is my first video of this new series that I'm starting here on YouTube, looking at celebrity birth charts and celebrity astrocartography maps to understand the story about them, their life biographies, and also looking at how place influences people's lives. I've been wanting to do a video series on this for quite some time, but the reason I haven't is because the thing about making predictions for celebrities or historical people in the public eye is that we don't actually know what they are personally going through in their lives. You know, we can see things from a historical context or from things that are happening to them publicly in their lives, whether it's career happenings or historical things that are happening for politicians or presidents or celebrities or influencers or all these people in the public eye, but we don't actually know what are the private personal things that are happening underneath the surface or behind the scenes. But with all that said, we can still learn a lot from celebrity charts. And so without further ado, let's get started with one of my favorite people in history, Barbra Streisand, the Babs. Let's get started. So here's Barbra's birth chart. I am a huge Barbra fan. I've been obsessed with her my whole life. I've read all of the biographies. About autobiography, My Name is Barbra, just came out today. I've been reading it all morning. I spent 5 hours reading it this morning. I'm just obsessed with her. So I thought, let's look at her chart together. Let's look at her astrocartography. Let's try to put these pieces together to truly understand this incredible legend of a woman. We have April 24th, 1942, 5:08 a.m., Brooklyn, New York, using whole sign houses. First thing I'm going to look at when I pull up someone's chart is I want to look at the ascendant and the first house, because the first house, this is the most important part of the birth chart. This is the identity of the person. This is who the person is. This is them in the chart. You know, we have all these different areas of life. This is Barbra right here. And we can see all of the 12 areas of her life, all the different facets of her biography. But really, when we're looking at Barbra, we're looking at the first house because this is who she is, the ascendant. We can see she has Aries rising at 8 degrees. Aries, fearless, courage, undaunted fearlessness, right? The first person out there, the warrior. Aries is also the fighter. Aries also has symbolism with aggression, assertiveness, bravery, the hero on the hero's journey. So she's embodying the hero, you know, in terms of identity. Next, we would be looking at if there are any planets in the first house, which there are none. And so next we would be looking at the ruler of Aries, right? So we're looking at Mars. And so Mars is her ruling planet. It is the lord of the chart. It is the planet that really is telling us a lot about her, aside from that first house, right? So the ruler being Mars is in Gemini, chatty social butterfly, very quick speaker, you know, the quick communicator. There's a speediness with Mercury, but also Mars. Mars has that speedy, fast energy. In Gemini, the communication, speaking, it's in the third house of communication and speaking. And it's conjunct Jupiter within 9 degrees. So it's within that 10-degree orb of a conjunction. Mars conjunct Jupiter. That's telling a lot of the story of who she is, right? So Mars being the identity of who she is, the fearlessness, the communication element, adding in Jupiter, that conjunction, Mars conjunct Jupiter is, going where angels fear to tread. It's that energy of just do it. Just take the action and think about it later. There's an impulsivity with Mars conjunct Jupiter. There's also just an excess amount of warrior-like speed and the sense of just going out and doing the thing. Jupiter always represents an abundance of something or excess. The faith element, right? Having a lot of faith, and it's conjunct Mars, which is action, doing things, motivation. When I look at this chart, I just think self-motivated, a lot of self-motivated, courageous energy, that fieriness backing her up. And it's in Gemini, which is thought work and ideas and thinking and communicating. It's a very powerful conjunction. It is at 9 degrees, so it is a bit on the weaker end, but it is a conjunction. It's making some other things that stick out about her chart. I mean, first things first, look at that part of fortune on the MC. Part of fortune can show good luck, where there's a sense of luck in life, where someone is lucky. And we can see it's on her MC within 3 degrees. Her Mars at 1 degree Capricorn, MC at 4 degrees Capricorn. So that's luck in terms of reputation, career, legacy. MC 10,000, I'm thinking legacy. I'm thinking of any type of fame. Part of fortune can add a lot of luck and support when it's on the MC angle like this in terms of being seen before the public eye. It's interesting to note that when you look at Barbra Streisand's chart, first thing you might think is, wow, there's a lot of planets in the bottom half of the chart. Which is an indicator, there's that horizon right there. When we have a lot of planets, most of the planets, the majority of them, like we do see here in Barbra Streisand's chart, this can be an indicator of someone being a very private person, their personal life being very important to them, their home, their family, their private nature, right? She doesn't have a lot of planets in the top half of the chart, which is interesting. She does have that part of fortune there, which is good luck on the career. So, we do have that very lucky, very nice. We do have some, the Venus in the 12th house, but the 12th house is a very hidden house. It's also very private, subconscious, hidden matters. So really interesting to see that. Since Mars is her ruling planet and the lord of the chart, I'm going to pay really close attention to this Mars. So we saw that Jupiter conjunction, and it's also squaring Neptune very tightly. Neptune is making a square to Mars within 1 degree. We've got Neptune at 27 Virgo, Mars at 28 Gemini. So it's a 1 degree separation. Mars square Neptune. A couple things come to mind. First, scandal. Neptune rules media or scandal or slander, especially when we're involving a malefic like Mars. Now, Mars is not her malefic in her chart. Saturn is her malefic in her chart, and Venus more supportive. Mars is a malefic still, but it's a moderate malefic for her. But still, that Mars being the ruler of her chart, it's squaring that Neptune. I think of things like gossip, slander, scandal, or being involved in those types of scenarios. Another thing with Mars square Neptune is I think of escapism, like the action, the output. There's a desire to escape the problems or escape doing things. I think of numbing the self out, whether it's through can be through media, overconsumption, escapism from something in life. The Neptune weakens the Mars. So while she does have a cool Mars with that Jupiter conjunction, there's a lot of power and energy behind that Mars of action, of doing things, especially in the vocal voice component in Gemini. Neptune does weaken it a little bit. So there is that kind of lethargy, laziness, unmotivated, or just a sense of escaping reality, escaping the work, escaping the doing the thing. She has it very tightly in her chart. So really interesting to see that, especially because it's the lord of her chart, Mars. One interesting thing I really want to point out about Barbra Streisand's chart is something I've heard a lot of her ex-husbands or current husband, James Brolin, I believe, he has mentioned that one of the most surprising things that people might not know about Barbra Streisand is that she's incredibly childlike. He used that word childlike to describe her. And I'm thinking, okay, so childlike, that sense of Elliot Gould once was quoted saying that she was almost like a child and he wanted to protect her. And that was something that, he felt really called to do when he was, married to Barbra Streisand, was that desire to protect her innocence and like that kind of childlike sense of joy and seeing life. You hear these words like child, childlike, and what immediately comes to mind? Leo. Leo is the sign associated with childlikeness or that innocence of joy. And let's look at her chart. She's got Moon in Leo. Now, Moon is a very important luminary for someone because it represents their desires, their emotional, private nature, the thing that they desire or yearn for privately that the public might not see. Unless you have, for example, a moon in the 10th house or a moon on the MC, then that's going to be part of the public identity and how you're known and seen publicly. But for Barbra Streisand here, she has the moon in Leo in the 5th house. So this is below the horizon. The 5th house represents things like creativity, self-expression, romance. The 5th house also rules things like hobbies, pastimes, and things that you enjoy just for fun. The 5th house is the fun house in astrology. It represents all the things that are fun, whether it's having a passionate love affair, romance, hobbies that you really love, creativity that you love to explore just for fun. But the 5th house also rules things like vices, things that like concerts and drinking and enjoying creativity for fun and pleasure. That's all 5th house. And so we see her moon, what she desires and craves and needs to feel nourished, that self-care, that self-satisfaction, to feel like her cup is full. It's in that 5th house in Leo. Now, Moon and Leo people naturally have a childlike natural joy within them to hold on to that childlike innocence within. In her 5th house, it shows the deep desire to express herself. Leo is also the zodiac sign associated with authenticity. Moon in Leo can represent a deep desire or need to be so authentic to who she is. And especially because it's conjunct Chiron. Now, the conjunction with Chiron can show a pain point or a trigger in terms of those themes. My guess looking at this chart, though, is that this has to do more with the mother and a wound or a source of healing in terms of the connection or relationship with her mother. Moon in astrology often represents the mother. The sun represents the father. We can see also in our chart that the moon in Leo at 10 degrees is squaring the sun in Taurus at 3 degrees. That is a 7-degree square, so it is not tight, but moon square sun configurations often have something to do with the parents or the battle within parents or childhood and the relationship to parents, mother and father, or parents in general. There can be a clash or a tension. So that Chiron that I'm looking at, that wound, that pain point associated with her desires in the Leo 5th house of creativity, self-expression, and authenticity. I'm guessing that's a big theme to do with her mother and her relationship with her mother. Was her mother supportive of her, supportive of her authenticity and creation and being an actress? The 5th house also rules performing arts, actors, creatives, types, the performing arts in general. That's the 5th house. So this looks like it's a big story with the mother wound associated with that. And I'm actually reading in her book right now, her biography, she talks about that, about wanting her mother's approval. Her mother would go out to see her in shows and she would ask, "How was I, mom? How was I?" And her mom would say things like, like, your arms are too skinny, and that would really hurt Barbra. And that was a wound she carried, her whole life, was healing that mother wound. And that's a big thing that you can see here with that moon conjunct Chiron within 2 degrees in the Leo fifth house of creativity and self-expression. Now, what are the downsides of Leo moon? The Leo moon, while childlike, full of joy, warmth, generosity, that steady burning fireplace that is a light for other people, it also represents things like pride or ego, or the egocentricity of self and overdoing it, the arrogance, the pride, the thinking that you're better, that you're royalty, right? That you're the king, the queen. That's the downside when taken to the extreme of a Leo moon energy. And so she does have that, which, that's a part of her reputation. We don't know what she's like in real life, so we can't assume and say that she is a certain way or not, but that is a big part of her history in terms of how people have talked about her, is that sense of controlling, demanding, which is, very much Aries rising themes we're seeing. That's Aries rising is definitely has those themes tied in, the controlling, the demanding, the fiery leader that wants to lead everyone and direct everyone. I, me, my vision. That's a very much an Aries rising thing. But I'm also going to go one step further and say it's also the Leo moon in the fifth house of creativity. And that's another component to her chart, is she doesn't just have Leo moon, she has Leo moon in the fifth. And Leo rules the fifth house in astrology. All the houses, Aries is in the first, Taurus in the second, Gemini in the third. Like, these are natural placements. She has all of them exactly where the zodiacs feel most comfortable. Leo thrives in the fifth house. So really interesting to see. There's just so much creativity here, and there's such a need for her to be authentic and to create and to be expressive, and also just to have fun in her life, to have hobbies and interests. And I know she has a lot of them. Like, I know one of the aspects of Barbra that's a really cool example of this fifth house is she collects dolls. She loves dolls and dress up and vintage and just having fun and expressing herself and playing with hobbies and things like that. Very much that Leo fifth house there, especially with the moon. Another thing I want to bring attention to before we get into her astrocartography is the Sun-Mercury conjunction in the second house. Second house rules things like food, clothes, the things that you buy to nourish the self. It's also the money house. So it's how we make money, how we spend money, how we save money, our budget. It's also, what do we buy? What do we value in terms of giving and receiving, right? The exchange of goods. And she's got her sun in Taurus there. Sun in Taurus, I think of, the appreciation of design, the appreciation of good fabrics. Taurus loves the sensory experience of life, the physical touch, the physical senses, different from Scorpio, which is more about the hidden, deeper, invisible things of life, the depth of life. Taurus, on the opposing end of that, is all about the simple, tangible things that make life simple joys. And she's got her sun there. So what she aspires to, her goals, her willpower, her will in life, I call it the mission statement of the chart. The sun, where she shines, it's in that second house of money and buying and spending money and shopping in Taurus, which Taurus loves the earthy physical experience of life, clothes, designs, furniture, interior design, gardening. Taurus is a big earth energy of flowers, plants, taking care of a garden, big themes of Barbra Streisand's personal life. And she's got her sun there. So she's really aspiring to go, and that willpower to go in that energy, in that direction, in the chart, in the second house. And that's something I've read about a lot about Barbra. Is one of the things she's kind of known for is her fashion sense and her love of thrifting and secondhand vintage and old pieces from the Edwardian days, the 1800s, the 20s. She collects them. She's a collector. She describes herself as a collector. Very much a Taurus sun in the second house, right? And she also, I think her first book, I didn't read it actually, but her first book was about her garden and her home. Very much Taurian themes with that sun in the second house of resources. So really interesting. I saw that there. She also has her Saturn there. So there can be a budgeting or difficulty with money and the need to save money, not overspend, which she did grow up very poor. So there can be that in the background, how she views money can be the self-consciousness or the desire to, not spend too much, need to hold on, need to kind of keep things to the self. The reproach to money has that detail with Saturn in the second house. That's the thing with these planets. The planets are giving more detail as to the areas of life. And then we also look at the ruler of that area of life to get more information. One other thing to point out about this chart before we move on to her astrocartography, she does have Venus in the 12th house. Venus and Pisces in the 12th house. This is something I think of someone who has a lot of faith, someone who believes in something invisible, someone who's attracted, Venus attraction, what they value, what are they attracted to, both aesthetically and physically, but also, what are they like drawn to? She's got on Pisces, the invisibility, the interconnectedness of all living things, the manifestations, the believing, if I can think it, I can be it. If I can dream it, I can do it. It's that belief first. Barbra is really known for, and she talks a lot about this in her autobiography, was as a child, as a teenager, when she was hustling and just not doing well as an actor when she first started out in New York, she always repeated to herself, thought transcends matter. Thought transcends matter. That's such a Venus and Pisces theme. In the 12th house of the subconscious, what's in the background of her mind? What are the themes happening in the background, in the subconscious? What does she deep down believe? Her dreams, her fears, her self-sabotage, her mental health. What's going on in the deeper underlying layers of her mind? Got that Venus and Pisces, the faith, the belief in magic, the belief in hope, in faith. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. In traditional astrology, Jupiter rules faith. And Pisces specifically has that faith that's just believing in something invisible, believing in something divine. And I think one of the things that really sticks out about this chart, especially because Venus is the ruler of her seventh house of partnership, spouse, love. The partner, the other person, hidden in the 12th house of privacy, seclusion. Her marriage to Elliot Gould here in New York, she got married and met Elliot Gould here. Very private relationship, really tried to keep it secretive, away from the public. The ruler of that spouse, Libra descendant, ruler Venus in the 12th house, very private, very, very private under, I also wonder if there was a love affair, like an affair from him. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's a theme at all, but 12th house, like hidden enemies, or think of something going wrong or a loss. But anyway, getting off track here, Venus and Pisces in the 12th house. Faith. She's got some faith there. She's got some underlying faith in her subconscious and her beliefs. And I think that's a big part of, how she made it so big was that faith and that belief in invisible magic, which she definitely had with Venus and Pisces in the 12th house. Okay, now I want to show you her astrocartography map. So when we look at her astrocartography map on New York, because this is where a lot of her career success started. She started out doing cabarets, concert venues in the early 60s. Then she performed in I Can Get It For You Wholesale on Broadway in the play that kicked off her career in theater. Then she did Funny Girl, and that opened up the movies in the LA and all of that. But she started out in New York because she was born here in Brooklyn. Now, some things I want to point out to you. She's got a paran here, which is that sun-moon square she has in her chart. It's 30 miles away from Brooklyn. So I want to pull up. I'm using Solar Fire, by the way. And if you want to get Solar Fire, which I believe is the best, hands down the best astrocartography software. If you wanted to get Solar Fire, you can use my code WOODS15 at checkout for 15% off. This is my go-to software for astrocartography maps. I do use Astro Gold for transit readings and zodiacal releasing, but for astrocartography, you got to use Solar Fire. It's the best. And because you can see the parents and the parents, you can see here, look, that moon sun square. She has a parent. It's 29 miles away. So a lot that egocentricity, right? That moon square sun, ego difficulties can be a theme with this. There can also be a theme of, the parent dynamics like we talked about, but also Moon square sun is the realization of self, a fulfillment of potential, the desires of the self coming out, and there is a potential to be realized with the sun being the potential, the possibility of leadership, being seen, that sun and the moon of the desire. So there is a chance of success with the moon sun parents I've seen. She also has Uranus Chiron, which can be a wound of not fitting in or feeling like you need to dim down your authenticity. Uranus rules authenticity, eccentricity, weirdness, weird things, being your kooky normal self. Very Uranus, loved Uranus. But she does have that Chiron there. And, Chiron is wounds or rejection or disappointment from those themes, and it's squaring in her chart. This is a generational thing. But yeah, there's that Uranus square Chiron in the chart. And in the map there, that paran is also showing up in this location 37 miles away from New York. So this is a 50% strength. We've got 75 miles for parans. So we're getting that theme of not feeling like you fit in, or feeling like you're weird or different, and feeling like a wound because you feel different, and staying true to your authentic self. But there's a sense of disappointment and being hurt by that with Chiron involved. So those are the parents. Those are the closest things to her. She has these local space lines that are going out from her place of birth. The closest astrocartography line that she has to New York is 239 miles away. So this is a medium strength, and it is that Neptune descendant. So those are part of the picture, and we would need to go back to the chart and understand what that's about. There's that Mars I see in the third house of communication, speech. Barbra loved books. She loved writing, reading, studying Shakespeare, studying the great playwrights. Like, she was obsessed with, she was a sponge, always wanted to read every single play, Shakespeare, everything she could get her hands on. It's all third house communication themes. I also, wonder if there was school issues as a kid. Third house is also early childhood development and school age years when you're a kid studying in school before college and things like that. Mars can represent difficulty, the fieriness, the action, the motivation, Mars towards speaking in Gemini, speech in the third house of communication. And she had that, as a huge part of her life was just the thirst for information, like wanting to read every play, go to every play, study every Shakespeare, every music, every 1930s, 40s record she could get her hands on. She was really, so she does have that Mars I see, but they're quite far away, those astrocartography lines. I mean, the Neptune is medium strength, Neptune in the 6th house of work. But I want to talk a little bit about where her career really took off, like in a big way. And that was, California, LA, the movie business. She became really famous movie star. I don't know too much about that part of her life, actually. I'm really obsessed with her early life and childhood up until 70s, early 70s. I really just was obsessed with her Broadway career when I was growing up. The thing that really stands out about Barbra Streisand's map when we're looking at the West Coast, Hollywood, LA, the film, TV business, all of that, which she's famous for. She has a lot of relationship lines here, a lot of descendant lines, which have to deal with people coming to her or external things happening coming into the native's life. And it's in the 7th house of partnerships. So, I think of things like contracts, agents, negotiations, relationships. It was here that she met her husband, James Brolin, who, again, I don't know her relationship, so I can't say what it's like, but from what it seems from a, public perspective, it looks like an amazing marriage. We could see there on her descendant, which is the partner or other people, the point, the descendant, the setting point. We can see there's Pluto, which is power, influence, Chiron, and the moon. When there's a lot of detail or a lot of planets coloring the 7th house, especially the descendant angle, it can almost be a theme of, the importance of people from this location, the importance of contracts, agents, managers, publishers, the spouse, one-on-one connections. The ruler of all this is that sun in the 4th house. So people close to home, her private life, her personal life. I think of the marriage to James Brolin, which I don't know if she met him in LA. I know she met him at a dinner party, but I don't know exactly where. But this is a place where that part of her life really flourishes. That's really nice to see. It's really nice to see, the things that shift when we look at this new chart in Los Angeles and California. We can see that Venus is in her second house of money, very different from that Saturn, which we saw earlier in New York. Saturn represents budget, being, thrifty with money, um, you know, not wanting to spend too much, being very budget conscious, wanting to save instead of spend, the limitation of money. When she comes out to LA, she's got Venus in Pisces in the second house of money. So there can be a lot more nice things coming to the money house, the saving, spending of money, which, Barbra in later years, she has become kind of known for a lot of spending of things, her houses, things like that. She's got that Venus and Pisces there. Really nice. We can also see she's got a big fourth house. The thing about astrocartography, especially when we're looking at locational astrology, I'm looking at the four angular houses. I'm looking at the first, the 10th, the seventh, and the fourth. And she's got a lot of activity here in the seventh and the fourth houses, both angular, in your face, active, assertive, here we are kind of houses. And these have to do with relationships in the home. That's been a big theme of her life since she moved out to California, is her family life, her home life, her marriages, and her children, her child, Jason, I believe, got Jupiter and Mars in the fifth house of children. But yeah, there's just a lot more energy and activity on these angles of the personal life and the private home life, the family life, and the spouse and marriage. Those are big themes that really become activated when she comes out to the West Coast. We can also see her career out here. She's got the MC angle, which is, where she's most publicly visible in her career, in the 10th house of career. It's ruled by Mars because it's in Scorpio, the sign of Scorpio. So we'd look to Mars. Mars is conjunct Jupiter. Lot of over the topness, extravagance. Mars conjunct Jupiter is excess. It's a lot of something, right? It's in the fifth house of making things, making art. Fifth house is performance, film, dance, music, creativity, self-expression, romance, play. And she's just got a lot of energy in that fifth house, which is fun, The fifth house is a fun house. It's nice to see Jupiter there, very lively, especially with energetic Mars in Gemini, very chatty, very social, love affairs, having a fun time dating, a very, very fun thing to see for the fifth house when I'm looking at this chart. Also, of course, when we look at locational astrology, relocation astrology, I'm always looking at the ascendant, the ruler of the ascendant, the ruler, the lord of the chart. She's got Aquarius rising at 4 degrees here in LA. She's ruled by Saturn. Saturn's in the fourth house. There's a putting down roots, structures, adulting, maturity into family life and home life. When I see Saturn in the fourth house, especially on an angle, it's 6 degrees off that IC angle there. I think of someone who's settling for the long haul, someone who's going to live somewhere for a long time. People often describe it as they feel stuck in an area. Like once you move there, it's like you plan on being there for a long time because Saturn, there is a sense of rootedness or time, the element of time. In the fourth house, there's definitely that putting down some sort of home roots. Yeah, so really cool to see these different areas become activated for her when she moves to California. And this is relocation astrology. We're looking not just at the map, we're looking at the relocated charts because that gives us a lot more detail as to like what's happening for someone in a certain part of the world, as well as parents, those latitude crossings, local space lines, things like that. There's also the element of timing, which I did look briefly, very briefly at her timing on the map on this astrocartography software, which you can do by just going to chart, subsidiary chart, and looking at, CCG transits, and you could see, what's happening. Oh, she's got Uranus on the IC. Interesting. I wonder if she's planning to move. But she does, when she did Funny Girl on Broadway, she had a really cool node. The North Node, I believe, was on her MC, but it was hitting the New York area when she was on Broadway in Funny Girl, which was when her career took off, which I thought was really interesting. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video from me. I thought it might be fun to kick off a new series talking about celebrity birth charts and astrocartography maps, understanding location and how things change when people move. If you want to learn more from me, you could check out my website. You can get my free guide right here on my astrocartography guide, 5 secret tips for an accurate astrocartography reading. You can get that for free. Sign up to my newsletter. I'm going to give you lots of tips and send you future emails with new insights, tips to help you on your own astrocartography journey. And also check out my website. I have so much on my website, a book, courses, readings. You can book a reading with me, and my blog, which has tons of free astrocartography informational content. There's a lot there. So feel free to go stalk me over on my website. And I hope you have a magical day, and I'll talk to you soon.